Okay, so in this critical message, I am stuck in these two options, right? India's political executive should be aware that poverty and social inequality are the consequent sense of and the consequent sense of insecurity is the main social problem. Okay, and what is asked here, insecurity more than poverty is a main economic issue that government policies must address. Insecurity, okay, Sirf should be aware. What do they mean by should be aware? So let's go with D. Assumption in the second iteration, not now. So this one, which one of the following statements best reflects the corollary to the above passage? Okay, the benefit of economic reforms percolates down more slowly to the agricultural sector than in other sectors of the economy. Let's see. I don't know. For India, the Green Revolution was not as useful as it was expected to be. As okay, India lagged behind other countries in adapting mechanized and other. Okay, India lagged behind. This is showing in India in negative sense. Rural to urban migration resulted in the stagnant agricultural sector. Okay, rural to urban. Let's see this passage. One of the dismissal realities of the agricultural sector in independent India has been that it never experienced a high growth phase. Okay, unlike the non-agricultural economy, the highest decadal growth was has been around 3.5% in the 1980s. Also, after receiving a spurt in decadal growth during 1980s, agricultural growth suffered relative stagnation thereafter. Achha. Okay, so this is an sharp contrast to non-agricultural growth, which is consistently okay. The benefit of economic reform percolates down more slowly. This is making sense. For India, Green Revolution was not successful. This is also wrong. This is absolutely wrong. India lagged behind. Migration ka bola is not even mentioned over here. Assumption nahi bhai, assumption no. Sorry, assumption. Here also there is assumption. So alternate questions are one question is logical reasoning and the other is assumption. Okay. We what logical and rational message. We need to free the handloom industry from limited narrative linked to preserving cultural heritage. Okay, this makes sense. Continued state government to the continued state support to the handloom industry ensures the preservation of some of our glorious art forms. Continued state support. This statement, okay. Household units of the handloom sector should be modernized and made an economically viable organized sector. I don't think so. Let's see. Handloom products need to be converted to machine made designer products so as to make them more popular. Let's see what's defined in the passage. In our country, handlooms are equated with a culture that ensures a continuity of tradition. This idea has become part of the public policy framing and provides a legitimate basis for state support to the sector. Okay, but the notion of tradition is a single linear entity is being strongly contested today. The narratives of dominant in defining culture tradition in a particular way are seen to have emerged as the identities and histories of large section. The discounted and at times forcibly stifled identities are fighting for the rightful place in the history. Against this backdrop, when we promote handloom as traditional industry, it is not surprising that large sections of our population choose to ignore it. Okay, okay, continued. Now this is also wrong. Household units should be modernized. This is also wrong. Handloom products need to be converted to machine made products. Acha. We need to free. ये this is the most broadest option. Assumption नहीं भाई. What is this? Why have I attempted this question? Okay. Which one of the following statements best reflect the central idea conveyed by the passage? Okay, no problem. India does not have enough resources for promoting quality education. Oh भाई क्या बोल रहा है? The institutions of higher learning in a country should not be under the control of government. No. Classroom approach to higher education should be done away with. Oh, classroom needs to be reimagined and teaching needs to be reinvented. Okay, this is nice. Let's see. In our country, regrettably, teaching and learning for the examinations have been our forte, but the new demands of society and the future of work requires critical and independent thinking. learning through doing and asking questions from multiple disciplinary perspectives on the same issue, using evidence for building arguments and reflecting the article. Higher education should not either be a mere servant of government policy or passive respondent to public mood. Higher education is all about how to think rather than teaching has to be reinvented. Okay, this is all मतलब कुछ भी यार, this is the most easy. Assumption, you see it, मतलब this time they have done assumption वाले questions more. I think UPC will keep this pattern 2026. Okay, this crux of the passage, there is an urgent need for a public policy to promote the consumption of cereal based foods in wealthier countries, in wealthier societies. Why only wealthier societies? I don't know. This is actually a question mark. This I do because I don't feel secure in this option. Animal based food is far less efficient than grain in terms of production utilization. This is, let's see, plant based protein should replace the animal based protein in our daily diets. No, 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 no. What in UPSC, whenever it says should do this, should completely mechanize this, we should completely ban this, we should completely stop using chemical fertilizer and shift directly to natural fertilizers. All these statements are little bit extreme in examination context because they talk about immediate action measure. Matlab like you press a button and as soon as you press the button the next second all of the farmers should continue using should abolish their chemical fertilizers and continue to natural based fertilizers. This is not possible because training is required and adequate facilities must be provided to farmers and to the stakeholders to matlab transition from one facility to another. So this thing that plant based protein should replace, should matlab karna hi padega, replace the animal based protein in our daily diet. Okay, inequality in food production and consumption is inevitable in any fast society. So this is also one trend ki inevitable. India's is so vast that it is inevitable to eradicate poverty. Inevitable matlab this, they have already surrendered. They have already surrendered कि भाई ये काम नहीं हो सकता. This is wrong. Is inevitable. Okay, so we have limited this. Okay, let's see. If there is inequality in the pattern of population growth, there is greater inequality in food production and utilization. As societies become wealthier, their consumption of animal products increase. Okay, this means that a greater proportion of such basic foodstuffs as grains and legumes that could feed humans directly is instead being converted into feed for poultry and large farm animals. Okay, yet this conversion of plant-based food into animal food for humans is far from efficient. Okay, only 16% of calories fed to chicken are recovered by us when we eat them. Achha, so this is like a pyramid, right? Food pyramid wala. This conversion rate goes down to 5 to 7% in large animals that are fed grain to add fat and some protein before slaughter. Okay, I understood this. But there is urgent need for a public policy to promote consumption of cereal based. Urgent, wealthier societies animal is far less efficient in terms of this is the most appropriate, right? Urgent भी बोल रहा है and in wealthier societies. This is wrong. Assumption I will not do right now. This we will do in second iteration, no problem. So देखा यहाँ भी assumption. Central idea, moving to next carbon is possible only by the reduction in household emissions. Okay, low carbon behavior in people can be brought about by incentivizing them. This is also matlab nice. Cheaper goods and services can be made available to people by using low carbon technology. I don't know, manufacturing industries that use low carbon should be provided with subsidies. देखते हैं भाई, देखते हैं. I don't know. Over the next 30 years, many countries are promising to move net zero carbon, implying that household emissions will have to cut to close to nothing. A leading climate scientist reckons that at best half the reduction might be achieved through demand side measures such as behavioral changes by individuals and households. Okay, and even that would require companies and governments to provide more incentive to change through supply side investments to make carbon options cheaper and more widely available. Okay, only by reduction in household emission. नहीं भाई, this is absolutely wrong. Low carbon behavior can be brought by incentivizing them. This is good, generalistic, cheaper, and can be made available by using low carbon technology. Cheaper goods and services can be made available to people by using low carbon technologies. Okay, let's see. Cannot be, should be, manufacturing industry should. No, this is not the appropriate. I think this is the matlab thing. Low carbon behavior in people can be brought about invest. Cheaper goods and services can be made available to people by using. नहीं, this is the मतलब most appropriate I think. Let's see. चलो देखते हैं भाई. Assumption वाले question नहीं करेंगे. Pragmatic, rational, ठीक है. Green economy is not possible without reusing critical minerals. Green economy is not possible without using critical minerals. Let's see. I'm not sure. Every sector of economy should adapt the reuse of material resources immediately. वाह भाई, कुछ टाइम ही मत दो उन्हें, सरेंडर ही करो, करवा दो, मतलब सीधा गोली उनके सर पे ठान दो कि कर अभी इमीडिएटली कर. सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी कैन बी बेनिफिशियल फॉर सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ. अरे भाई क्या, कितना जनरलिस्टिक दोगे. Circular use of material resources is the only option for some industries for their survival. Okay, only option. Let's see what is conveyed. I don't know. In only 50 years, the world's consumption of raw materials has nearly quadrupled to more than 100 billion tons. Less than 9% of this is reused. Batteries of old vehicles contained materials such as lithium are pricey and hard to obtain. Okay, supply chains are long and complicated. Buyers' risks are being aggravated by their suppliers' poor environmental and labor standards. Reusing materials makes sense. Yes, obviously. Once batteries reach the ends of their lives, they should go back to a factory where their ingredients can be recovered and put into new batteries. वाह भाई, कितना अच्छा बोला है. सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी कैन बी बेनिफिशियल फॉर सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ. क्यों नहीं भाई, क्यों नहीं होगा. ये कुछ भी बोलते हैं. दिस इज द ओनली ऑप्शन. नहीं भाई, कुछ नहीं. Assumption, I don't know. Let's see this. Central message, central idea. Global climate change adversely affects the productivity of crops. Yes, bhai, but let's see what's given in this passage. Our total dependence on genetically honed crops entails possible food insecurity. Yes. Total dependence. Yes, bhai, total dependence. Our food security should not depend on agricultural productivity alone. Genetically honed crops should be replaced with their wild varieties in our. अरे भाई क्या बोल रहे हो. It is hard to predict how changes in the climate and atmosphere's chemistry will affect the prevalence and virulence of agricultural diseases. But there is a risk that such changes will make some plant infections more common in all climatic zones, perhaps catastrophically also. Part of the problem is that centuries of selective breeding have refined the genomes of most high value crops. They are spectacular at growing, but not immediately useful. Then okay, this is good for yields but bad for coping with changes. Yes, absolutely. A minor disease or even genetically home पर हो रहा है. Correct. So global warming change, global climate change adversely affects. See, मैंने तो मतलब our food security should not depend on agricultural productivity alone. This is also bullshit. Our total dependence on genetically honed crops entails possible food security. भाई क्या, broadest. Adversely affects productivity of crops. I would go with this. क्योंकि मतलब they are making comparison between genetically modified crops एंड और अपना ऑर्गेनिक वाला मतलब जो नेचुरल है उनका उन्होंने कंपैरिजन किया है. एंड दे हैव सेड कि ऑर्गेनिक क्रॉप्स आर मतलब मोर डाइवर्स, दे हैव बीन रेजिस्टेंट टू एनवायरनमेंट एंड दे हैव बीन अडेप्टिंग. बट दिस GM क्रॉप इज़ नॉट मतलब दैट मच susceptible or resistant to diseases and all. And we know the मतलब GM crops का misadvantages. So this is basic knowledge. Let's do this. Message conveyed by the author of the passage. Okay, so let's do it. Without opposition parties, the administration in a democracy gets to become more responsible. Oh bhai, wow, how responsible of you to put this option. Democracy needs to have revolutionaries in opposition to keep government alert. Revolutionary, ओके, आज तो मतलब पूरा मूड ही बना के आई। रूलर्स इन ए डेमोक्रेसी नीड द सपोर्ट ऑफ अपोजिशन फॉर देयर पॉलिटिकल सर्वाइवल. रूलर्स नीड, I'm not quite sure. In a democracy, the opposition is indispensable for the balance of political power and good governance. Let's see, bhai. A good statesman, like any other sensible human being, learns more from his opponents than from his fervent supporters. For this, supporters will push him to disaster unless his opponents show him where the dangers are. So, if he is wise, he will often pray to be delivered from his friends because they will ruin him. But though it hurts, he sought to also pray never to be left without opponents. For for they keep him on the path of reason and good sense. The national unity of free people depends upon sufficiently even balance, okay, of political power to make it impracticable for the administration to be arbitrary and opposition to be revolutionary and reconcile. मतलब opposition also must not be revolutionary type. ठीक है, without opposition ये तो गया, become more needs to have revolutionary ये भी गया. Rulers in democracy need to support of opposition for their political survival ये भी गया. Opposition is indispensable ये बढ़िया है. assumption वाले नहीं भाई, assumption वाले आज नहीं मूड मेरा. critical message, okay. There has been नहीं क्रिटिकल मैसेज ना, पहले स्टेटमेंट्स पढ़ना है तो भूल ही गए. Corporate capitalism is important for economic growth of a state and also for democracy. Important. Corporate capitalism is imperative for the modern state to achieve its political objectives. I don't think so. No state can ensure its economic survival for long without the role of corporate capitalism. No. Corporate capitalism and democracy have mutual dependence for their continued existence. This can be, I am not quite sure, but this can be. Let's see. There has been no democracy that has grown economically without corporate capitalism. It helps in modernizing the economy and enabling transition agriculture to industry and services, which are inevitable with growth. It generates jobs, and there is no other way to fix a country's unemployment challenge without a further impetus to private business. Big companies can operate on a large scale and become competitive both domestically and externally. A vibrant corporate capitalist base can also lead to additional revenues for the state. Okay, additional revenues which in turn can be used to greater welfare of the marginalized. ठीक है. This will go. Corporate is imperative for modern states to achieve political objective. No. Also for democracy. Democracy के लिए क्यों होगा? This is the right thing. ओके, बेस्ट एक्सप्लेनेशन भाई कितना ही है, पढ़ लेंगे. A network of voluntary associations stands as a buffer between relatively powerless individuals and potentially powerful state. Okay. Explanation. It emphasizes the inability of the state to enforce its will in practice against the opposition of certain groups within it. It is cooperative organizations for the promotion of well-being and development of personality for its members. It takes individual out of state of isolation and gives them a chance to endure in to participate in common endeavor. It permits citizens to have a variety of loyalties and allegiance. क्या लिखा है? A network of voluntary associations stands as a buffer between relatively powerless individual and potentially powerful state. Okay, association they are forming. Take association for democratic reform. This relatively powerless individual, okay, they are not powerless individual, they are okay. It emphasizes inability of the state. Inability to nahi bhai. It is cooperative organization for the promotion of well-being and development of personality of its members. Okay, this is good. It takes out of state of isolation, gives them a chance. It takes individuals out of state of isolation and gives them participate in common endeavor. I don't think. It permits citizens to have a variety of loyalties. Go man, what the heck are you talking about? मुझे तो यही लगता है, मतलब आइसोलेशन में क्यों लेके जाएगा ना वो. You cannot isolate a person from its state and vice versa. There exists a natural number. अरे भाई ये क्यों पढ़ रहा हूँ मैं? Okay, Which one of the following statements best reflects most logical, rational and crucial message conveyed by the passage? Okay, we must use WPI exclusively in measuring price rise and CPI should be done away with. Wow, what a extreme statement. The present calculation of inflation rates are not correctly measured. Are not correctly measure price rise. No, does not correctly measure price rise of individual items commodity. Okay, inflation data under present services in inflation data under present services in consumption basket. Okay, knowledge of inflation rate is not really of any use to anybody in the country. वाह भाई, आज तो उन्होंने प्लेट में सजा कर ऑप्शंस दे ही दिए आपको. द प्रेजेंट कैलकुलेशन ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन रेट डज नॉट करेक्टली मेजर, ये भी हो सकता है. एंड इन्फ्लेशन डेटा अंडर प्रेजेंट सर्विसेज, देखो चलो देखते हैं. A single number for inflation is an aggregate across different commodities and services. Aggregate single number बरोबर है. The price rise differs for different items of consumption, so a single number is arrived. Single number, देखो single number 2 times is arrived at by assigning weights to different. Okay, WPI weights proportion I use CPI consumption basket. CPI the consumption basket is used, but people are not homogeneous. The consumption basket is vastly different for the poor, the middle class and the rich, hence CPI is different. Okay, तो क्या बात कर रहा है ये? द प्रेजेंट कैलकुलेशन डज नॉट करेक्टली मेजर, यही है और क्या है ये? Crux of the passage. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay, so let's say reflects the crux of the passage. Okay, trustworthiness cannot be expected in entrepreneurship. Why? Trustworthy people are the most vulnerable people. Okay, no economic activity is possible without being exposed to betrayal. भाई क्या बोलूँ मैं इसको? Trust is important though it entails risks. Okay, this is also nice one. This is also a nice one. So either this or this. Trust cannot be. Trust is in. Okay. Trust stands commonly defined as being vulnerable to others. Entrepreneurship implies trust in others and willingness to expose oneself to betrayal. Trust in expert system is the essence of globalizing behavior. Trust itself emerges as super commodity in the social market and defines the characteristics of goods and services in the global market. Trusting conduct also means holding others in good esteem and an optimism that they are and will be competent in certain respects. Okay, this is wrong. Trustworthy people are the most vulnerable people. This is nice. Vulnerable ही क्यों होंगे वो? This is the counter ना मतलब. So as you can see, we have done the first iteration for reading comprehension, right? So according to the strategy that my mentor has told me, now after 30 minutes I will do the easy questions of reasoning and quantitative aptitude, and in another next 30 minutes I will come back to reading comprehension and I will solve all the assumption based questions, and in the fourth round of 30 minutes I will solve the remaining questions that I find easy in quantitative aptitude and reasoning. That's it. So how many questions did I attempt in the first round? Let's see. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16. Okay. So in the first iteration, in the first 30 minutes I am done with 16 questions. This is actually very good. Now it is 24 minutes that I have started the recording, but before that I had attempted 2 questions and no problem. So ultimately it boils down कि भाई you can do 16 questions that are easy in the first iteration. Now what I will do is I will not go to quantitative aptitude and reasoning right now, because I want to make a video on YouTube and show that कि in the third iteration how will I go through the assumption based questions. Okay, so let's see. I will erase this 30 minutes. Now let's come back to assumption based questions. No country needs to depend on ecosystems to boost national income. No country depend on ecosystem. This is utterly nonsense. Resource rich countries, so this will not be my option and this will not be my option. Resource rich countries need to share their resources with those scant resources, those, so as to prevent the degradation of ecosystems. Yes, why not? I will mark option 2 correct. Let's see this. Path dependent green investment will eventually most likely benefit growth as well as public finances in a country like India. Okay, if other green technologies follow the same pattern as that of solar energy, there will most likely be an easy green transition. This is obviously matlab correct na कि what we did was we the timing of the green solar panel we matlab implemented and pushed it early on. If other follow the same pattern, there will most likely be an easy green transition. Path dependent will eventually most likely benefit public finance. Path dependent green investment will eventually most likely benefit green growth as well as public finance. I am not sure about public finance. By moving early, reap benefits of parliament without much disruption, more chaotic transition, costlier. पब्लिक फाइनेंस का किधर है इधर पाथ डिपेंडेंट नहीं भाई आई एम नॉट क्वाइट श्योर इन दिस आई विल गो विथ 2 green energy production can be linked or integrated with climate change. Green energy production can be linked. Okay, effects of climate change are much more severe in coastal and mountainous regions. Okay, in the passage it is talked about rising sea level. Assume na, we have to assume. सही है भाई, because we see that some African countries, some coastal countries which are smaller island countries, what happens is due to rising sea level water has flooded their island. So this is what we learn कि climate change is not uniform throughout the world. In some countries it is more, in some countries it is less. So with that logic I think we are good with this thing. Let's see. People above poverty line are also prone to suffer from anxiety about economic insecurity. Above poverty line वाले लोग भी. Eradication of poverty can result in peace and social inequality in our country. नहीं भाई, not eradication of poverty but social. सिर्फ eradication of poverty से ये नहीं होगा काम आपका. Eradication of poverty alone cannot bring peace. For peace to be in a society we need to मतलब इस पैसेज में तो मेंशन किया है ना, किधर गया पैसेज ओके. मल्टीपल इकोनॉमिक वैरायटी. सी सोशल प्रॉब्लम, इनसिक्योरिटी मोर देन पॉवर्टी. इनसिक्योरिटी मस्ट बी एलिमिनेटेड, नॉट पॉवर्टी. सो ये तो गया. पॉवर्टी अबव, पीपल अबव पॉवर्टी लाइन are also prone to suffer from anxiety about economic insecurity due to wealth, health risk, market fluctuation, job. हाँ भाई, why not? The growing divergence between the fortunes of agricultural and non-agricultural economy in India could have been contained by adaptation of large-scale cultivation of commercial crops and viable corporate farming, providing free insurance for all crops and heavy subsidizing seeds, fertilizer, electricity and farm machinery at par with developed countries. Okay, so this is a dicey one. adoption of large scale cultivation of commercial crops, and divergence of fortunes. I don't think so. I have given neither, but I'm not that much sure because let's see now. I'm tired actually. There is no need for the states to be involved in any matter in the. No, this is wrong. Handloom products are no longer appealing and attractive in the rapidly. No, this is also bullshit. Higher education is a constantly evolving subject that needs to align towards new development in all spheres of society. Good. Yeah, sufficient funds are not allocated. Who told you this? Sufficient are not allocated for promoting. Who told you this? The food manufacturing and processing industries in every country should align their objectives and processes in accordance with the changing needs of societies. No. Wealthier countries tend to incur great loss of calories of food due to their agricultural produce. Wealthier countries tend to incur great loss of calories of food. This is correct, na? It is actually the crux. Supply side investments in companies can result in behavior of people. People are not capable of adapting to behavior without involvement. Who told you this, bhai? Automobile factories are examples of circular economy. Automobile factories, हाँ मतलब कुछ भी तो मतलब ये कर सकते हैं ना, पुराना टायर, पुराना कुछ भी चिपका कर. Economic growth is compatible with circular use of mineral resources. आपल्याला अज्युम करायचं आहे. अज्युम economic growth is compatible with circular use of mineral resources. Economic growth, I don't know भाई. Global climate change can result in migration of several plant diseases to new areas. Global climate change can result in the migration of several plant diseases to new areas. Scientific understanding of the wild relatives of our present would enable us to strengthen. Scientific understanding of the wild relatives of our present crops would enable us to strengthen food security. I'm not quite sure about this. I won't attempt. The following assumptions have been made. In a democracy, a strong opposition is required only if the head of government is indifferent. The more aggressive the opposition, the better in the governance. Who told you this? Who told you? Corporate capitalism promotes the growth of labor force and provides more employment opportunities. Poor and marginalized sectors of populations are benefited by corporate capitalism due to trickle down effect. This I'm not sure, bhai. Okay, so we have attempted quite some questions. Now let's see how many questions have we attempted from the passages. I think I have left 2 questions in middle, and those were of assumptions which I was not quite sure. Now let's go through them once again. Okay. So 1 2 1 2 3 4 4 5 5 6 7 8 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 23, 24, 25, 25, 26, 27. Okay, fine. 27 questions. 27 questions. 27 questions attempted. Okay, and we have left around, I think, 2 left. So around 29 questions were asked in the actual exam. Now let's pause for a second and I will bring the answer key of coaching industry. Let's compare which one is more accurate. Okay, so I had referred to this forum as answer key for CSAT. So let's see how many questions did I mark incorrect. So this is 1. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. Okay, only 4. Let's check again. The blue ink is determined. Blue ink denotes the incorrect answer, the correct answer. So this is 1, this is 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4. Okay, so out of these incorrect, how much? 4. We got incorrect as 4. We attempted how many questions? कितने attempt किए थे? 27. Okay, so let's do the calculation. So it becomes 27 into 2.5, that gives us how much? 67.5. okay, 67.5, and we got 4 incorrect, so 4 into 0.83, that gives us how much? 3.32. so if we minus both these numbers, what we get? 67.5 minus 3.32, we get 64.18. oh bhai, is this correct? 4 into 0.83, this is correct, and 27 into 2.5. oh my god, did you see what did I do here? Matlab, out of 29 questions, there were 29 questions of quantity, both no, there were 29 questions of reading comprehensions. Out of that, in the first iteration of 30 minutes, what I did was I attempted how many questions? मैंने लिखा है क्या इधर? 16 questions. And in the second iteration in the exam hall, what we need to do is we need to attempt another easy questions. मतलब जो assumptions वाले difficult आपको जो लग रहे हैं first iteration में, जिसमें आपकी accuracy low हो सकती है, वो आप इस iteration में मारो, second iteration में. and वहाँ कितने मारे थे मैंने? 10 मारे थे, 10 नहीं 11 मारे थे, तो ये हो गए 27. and out of these 4 were incorrect. this is according to coaching answer key, this is not final. ओके, सो ये मतलब प्लस माइनस 2 पकड़ के चलो आप, प्लस माइनस 2 मतलब 5 मार्क, प्लस माइनस 5 मार्क, तो इसमें प्लस 5 भी हो सकते हैं और प्लस माइनस 5 प्लस 5 हो सकता है. तो ये कितना आ जाएगा? 69 भी हो सकता है, या ये भी हो सकता है 59. ठीक है, इफ़ यू टेक द वर्स्ट केस सिनेरियो 59, तो आपको कितने क्वेश्चंस और करने हैं? तो फिर 29 क्वेश्चंस तो यही हो गए बम्पर पे. तो नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चंस यू नीड टू अटेम्प्ट इज अराउंड कितने हैं? ये 30 पकड़ो और ये 15 क्वेश्चंस घुमा फिरा के आपको अटेम्प्ट करना आना चाहिए. So this is the मतलब ultimate thing that I do. In the next coming videos I will explain कि मतलब in detail while solving the questions how do I solve and how do I eliminate, what is the meaning of this when I मतलब do this in front of any option. So देखो इधर मैंने करा ये क्वेश्चन मार्क, ये मैं क्यों करता हूँ, ये मैं कहाँ पर करता हूँ, how do I perfectly eliminate a option. In the next video I will show it to you.